Hello dear Odooers and welcome back to the Odoo Hub by Cloudac. Today we are going to look at the accounting module and what it has in store. So as you can see my screen, we are on the accounting dashboard. So this is the main dashboard and this is the accounting dashboard. So what you see on the dashboard are called journals. So how Odoo is structured is it has journals. Look at it like a book with chapters. So this is a big book. Inside you have chapters. So we have the sales journal. All your sales activities will happen there. You have the purchase journals. We have the banks. So these two might be the same across, but for the banks, if you have 4 banks, then you need to create 4 journals for the banks. If you have 5, you create 5. Then we'll have the banks lined up here. For example, we have our account there for Boya. And please note that in Odoo, you are able to integrate your bank so that you can actually fetch your statement real time rather than importing a statement manually. So that's an add-on with Odoo's open nature source. So for example, this is a bank that you can actually come and do an integration so that you will be syncing the statements on the go without having to do this manually. So that is a bank, that is a bank there. This is another journal called tax returns. So as you're doing your tax returns, they'll be populating in a journal inside there. Now, to be able to add more journals inside Odoo, so you're supposed to go to the configuration module and then you go to journals. So let's say, for example, you do importation of goods. So you want a journal to track your landed cost. So what you need to do is create a journal for that so that they don't mix up. So if you have one big journal, then you'll mix up everything and it will be a mess. So on that note, I can show you how to create a journal. So for example, you want to create a journal to track landed cost. You're going to create a journal called landed cost and use a proper format, landed cost. And then the type of this journal is a miscellaneous. So to explain this, we have the sales, purchase, cash, bank, credit, and miscellaneous. So any other journal that does not fall under this becomes a miscellaneous. And then you can give it a sequence LC for landed cost. So the advantage of that is that every time you transact inside this journal, you'll be seeing a prefix LC and you'll know the source of this transaction. So once you're done with that, you can click save. So the default account and the currency account is not mandatory, but you can as well set that if you need to set that up. On the advanced section also, you can leave it as it is by default unless you want to do some further locking or automations. But for now, we leave it at that. So that's creation of a journal. Now, as you can see, it's the last one on the list. So for example, let me create another bank so that I explain something. I click new and then I say Equity Bank. This is a bank. So the type of this is a bank. So let's just see what will happen. The moment you create, you click bank, it creates for you or open up other windows. So now here, depending on the company, you can decide to use maybe the prefix of maybe EQKE, Equity Kenya Shilling, just an example. Or you can pick the last digit of your account so that in the journals, when they are populating, you'll be able to see that prefix and know where it's coming from. So the same thing as the previous one we've done on the landed cost. So for now, I'm just going to say EQKE. And then I hit save. And then automatically it creates for me a chart of account. So there are two things here. There is a journal, there is a chart of account. So this is what goes to the numbers. So the chart of accounts. And then on the right side, you'll see the bank account. So you're able to put your bank account there. And then you can create it. And then you choose the bank, the clearing bank, and the currency, maybe it's Kenyan shilling. You can do all that. And you say it's trusted. And then you select the bank, the actual bank name, Equity Bank PLC, something like that. You create an edit and then you save, and you can put the other details and you save that. So here is where you'll decide how will you be pulling your statements. It's undefined, can be manual or online. So for example, most of the people will go for manual, but you can go further, get the API from the bank, and we'll be able to integrate that for you here so that it will automatically populate for you the statements. The next, on the incoming payments, you need to set the outstanding receipts. That's something you should not forget. And then here, we can actually change this name and say the payment is made from equity. Sorry, let me do that. And then here you put outstanding receipts. And then here, the same thing, copy that name, or you can leave it as manual payment, and then you say outstanding payment. Right, so the others automations we will cover in other sessions. And then if you want to integrate, you're able to add the equity bank there and integrate it for you for ease of pulling your statement. So that is how you set up journals inside Odoo. Now, when you go back to the dashboard, as you can see, my first journal there is sales, then purchases, then ABSA. So assuming I want to see equity on top, so what do? So what you do, you go to configurations, journals, and then you pick it and drop it at the top like that. When you go to the dashboard, it becomes your journal number one. So maybe it's a journal you visit the most. So that is how you are going to set the journals and arrange them in a nice way. So that is on journals. We are going to have more videos on this. So see you in the next one.